Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we are going to complete the study of the first chapter of Zechariah. So we are doing Zechariah chapter 1b. In the last podcast, we introduced this incredibly beautiful and wonderful prophet Zechariah, and we studied his first prophecy. That was the first half of the chapter. In that chapter, I mentioned a few things as an introduction. And one of them was, I quoted the Ibn Ezra, who states that along with all the other commentaries who discuss how difficult it is to understand and interpret the meaning behind all of Zechariah's prophecies. They seem to be very difficult to understand. They kind of dreamy, well, they actually did occur in dreams, but very dreamy sort of images, and despite the explanations that are given within the text itself by Zechariah the Navi himself, who himself didn't understand the meanings, and he asked an angel, we still don't seem to understand, even when he asked angels to explain to him what he was seeing. But the images used, the Ibn Ezra stated, fascinatingly, that if only we had access to history, if only we had access to a book that described to us what the times were like in those days, and so on, we might be able to at least get a beginning of an understanding of what these mean. And I mentioned to you that fortunately, nowadays, we actually do have access to a lot of the history that the Ibn Ezra only dreamed and wished we had. Now we have historical archives from the Persian kings, we have archaeological excavations, we have inscriptions and engravings and drawings and all kinds of archaeological finds and so on that have shed light upon this time period of the early Bayit Sheni, the early building of the Second Temple. And these things especially help us understand the Persian Empire. And as we read this Zechariah 1b, the second half, we're about to read one of these very difficult to understand and interpret visions. So the commentaries over the generations have tried to interpret what this means and what he was seeing and what these images are. And there are many, many, many different explanations. However, I'm going to say that you're welcome, of course, to look through the commentaries and see what these explanations are, and each one is interesting and beautiful in its own way. And of course, patishi fotzeit sela, as we say, the Torah is like a hammer against a rock that smashes into many, many different pieces. There's many legitimate ways for us to understand the Torah. However, I am going to use an interpretation which I saw in a book by Chaim Angel, who is a biblical scholar who wrote a book in the Magid Press on Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, and he wrote a book about it, and he quotes from some scholars in there the following historical data which will help us understand what the vision we're about to read is. Actually, I'll get to it in a minute as I approach that text. And so let's first start. I'm at verse 7, and Zechariah is going to date this text. And the date is somewhat important, so pay attention to the date. Biyom esrim v'arba, on the 24th day, li'ashtei asar chodesh, in the 11th month of the year, hu chodesh Shivat, which is the month that we now know as the Hebrew month of Shivat. Shivat, we know, is 2 months after Kislev, right? Kislev is the month which we studied before in Haggai. In this very same year, we learned that on the 25th day of Kislev, and we see this in the book of Ezra as well, was the day of the construction, the building, the dedication of the Second Temple. So at the time that Zechariah is stating this prophecy, the Second Temple is already up and functioning now for about 2 months. And it was Bishnat Shnayim L'Daryavesh, in the second year of the reign of Darius the First. So this is dated to exactly the time that I just described. So here we have, the temple is just beginning to function. Things are just beginning to move in terms of the temple. But the people are still living in this situation where they're completely under the thumb and under the the rulership of the vast and mighty Persian Empire. Everything they see about them is this vast and mighty Persian Empire. The Jewish kingdom is tiny. The temple itself is tiny. It's a ramshackle temple, hodgepodge of some stones and bricks and stuff put together real quick. Well, not really bricks, but stones, and it's nothing at all what they imagined. None of or if we remember what we just studied together in Haggai, where God promised, I'm going to shake up the world, I'm going to shake up the nations, and I'm going to bring about this, and this is going to be the center of religious attention for the entire world. All the nations are going to come here, they're going to donate, they're going to worship. Everything, all the visions that Haggai had hinted towards, the visions of Isaiah, of Yeshayahu, all of these things are not happening. All they feel is that we're struggling here. We're trying to build something. We're trying to build a temple to God, but all we are is under the thumb of the Persians. This is really important. Keep that in mind as we read verse 8, because now we're going to understand the vision. Well, I'm still actually finishing verse 7. Hayad dvar Adonai, the word of God came el Zechariah ben Berachyahu ben Ido hanavi, to Zechariah the son of Berachyahu, the son of Ido, the prophet, Lamar, as follows. This was the vision that I saw. Ra'isi halayla. I saw tonight, during the night, in other words, the night presumably preceding the day, so that, remember that in the Hebrew calendar, the night begins the night before, so this is the 24th day of the month of Shvat. V'hine, and behold, the Ish rochev al sus adom, there was a man who was riding on a red horse. Adom generally translates as red, so a reddish colored horse he was riding. V'hu omeid, and he was standing. It's questionable. Remember, this is a dream, so it could be that he was riding and then all of a sudden he was standing, or it could mean that he, meaning he, the unit, him and the horse, were standing. Bein ha'hadasim, among the myrtle branches, asher b'metzula, that were in the swamp, in the marsh. The hadasim are a very thick, growing, green bush, and he was standing like hiding among the bushes. V'yacharav, and behind him, susim adumim, there were more horses. These horses were red, sirukim, they were also speckled or spotted or splotched of colors, ulevanim, and also white. I've seen various translations, but the bottom line is there were horses of various colors. So he sees this image of a man riding a horse who is amongst the bushes in the swamps, and behind him are a lot of horses. What does this image mean? There's 3 different colored horses, and then there's this man riding the horse. Again, remember I told you that among the commentaries you'll see many, many different explanations as to what these represent. However, I'm going to tell you from historical purposes, and this is what I would venture to say the Ibn Ezra would have said had he had access to this information. And of course, there's no way to actually know that, but I'm going to say it anyway. And that is that we know that the might of the Persian kingdom was held together by a network of spies. This is a historical fact that we now know. And the way these spies worked is they were famous for riding horses, fast horses that they were able to ride from the capital and spy on the towns and cities and governments that were under the thumb of the Persian Empire. And these messengers would ride these horses and hide among the marshes and observe the cities and see who's coming, who's going, what's happening. And then they would quickly ride back to the capital and bring the news back. The main thing Persia, of course, was worried about was, is there some sort of a potential mutiny afoot? Is there somebody who wants to take charge and fight against the Persian Empire and so on? This image of the horses hiding in the bushes is almost certainly the image that the people are afraid of. The people know that the Persians are they're so dominant. I look and I see a man riding on a red horse. Red is the symbol of blood, and we've seen through so many of the prophets, a sus adom, a red horse, is a horse of war. The ish rochev, the man riding on this horse, is the man who represents the Persian Empire, the powerful Persian Empire that through war, through their soldiers, were able to keep their subjects under control. And behind him were all the horses that were running and maintaining the power. This is the rough equivalent of the KGB of the Persian Empire. There were all their horses hiding amongst the hadassim, hiding amongst the bushes, spying on the people. V'omar, and I said, Mo'ila Adoni, What are these? What are all these horses, Adoni, my master? It seems to be that he is speaking to the man on the horse. But then somebody else answered, and this is questionable. A lot of people are not sure whether this someone else is a different person or this someone else. Someone else is the actual same person, but it seems like it's another person. I said, "What is this, my master?" But then who spoke to me? Someone else. Vayomer elai hamalach hadover bi. There was a malach, an angel that spoke to me, who he told me, Ani areka mohema ela. I will show you what all of these horses are. Don't ask him, the guy on the horse, but ask. I'm going to tell you. I will make sure I show you. However, then the man on the horse. This is verse 10. The man on the horse overheard our conversation, and he said, "Vayan ha'isha omeid ben ha'adasim." The man who is standing in the bushes, not the angel that explains me the dreams, but the man that I visioned and I saw him standing in the bushes, either sitting on his horse, standing still, or standing next to his horse. Vayomar, and he said, "Eile, these horses asher sholach Adonai lehisalech ba'aretz." These are the horses that God has sent to go around and spy upon the land. Lehisalech, to go around and enforce the might of the Persian Empire. This man was representing the Persian Empire, saying, God has put us in charge. God has made us the ones who are going to come around and check and make sure you guys are behaving. Make sure there's quiet. Make sure there's no rebellion afoot. Make sure that you're not about to go and declare a king of Judea and start building this grand empire that you want to build. Or an empire is probably not the right word, this grand kingdom. Vaya'anu. And then they answered at Malach Adonai, the angel of God, Ha'omeid bin Ha'adasim. Now, who is they? This is really difficult. Who is this that is answering the angel of God who was standing among the Hadasim? So now, Zechariah is referring to that man who just said, I am the messenger of God, representing the Persian Empire. I am here to spy on you and to spy on everyone, to make sure to enforce the power of the empire. They, meaning they, the horses that were following them, answered Malach Adonai. Possibly there appeared in the dream riders on those horses who spoke, or it could even be in the dream, the horses themselves that are part of the spy network answered the man who was leading them. And they said, Vayomru, and they answered him, Hisalachnu ba'aretz. We, the horses, have done our mission. We have went around. We've spied out in the entire land. And the entire land is quiet. The entire land is tranquil. Don't worry. The Persian Empire is fine and strong. No one is rebelling. Now remember, that is not what the people wanted. If we remember back in Haggai, at the same time, God promised us that He was going to be Marishet Haaretz. He was going to strike down these kingdoms. Rashi, the Haggai said in chapter 2, verse 6, V'hir ashti et kol hagoyim. I am going to shake up all of those nations. The verse before, V'ani marish et hashamayim v'aretz. I'm going to shake up the heavens and the earth. Where is all that shaking? The people are wondering what is going on. Where is all that shaking? God was supposed to rescue us. God was supposed to set us up independent, and here they are, all the spies of the Persian Empire returning their report. Don't worry, Persia. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's calm. You got control. So Vayan Malach Adonai. So then the angel of God, presumably this is the angel who speaks to Zechariah, the angel who interprets to Zechariah, Vayomar, and he said, Adonai Tzvaos, God the Lord of hosts, Ad Mosai atol lo terachem et Yerushalayim. How long will it be that you still don't have mercy on Jerusalem? Why is it that the land is Yosheves Vishokates when just Haggai, just very recently, remember Haggai was speaking these same words virtually just a month or two before. Why are you not having mercy on Jerusalem? Why are we quiet? Why can we not rebel against the Persian Empire? Why cannot we set our own independent nation up? Why is it that everything is quiet? Ve'etorei Yehuda, on the cities of Judah, why don't you have mercy on them? Asher Za'amta, you've been angry at us. Shivim Shana, for 70 years you've been angry and upset with us. When will it be over? When will you allow us to reestablish our kingdom? When will you allow us to be independent? Why do we have to be subservient to Persia? Vayan Adonai, and then God in the dream answered et hamalach hadover bi. This clearly demonstrates that the one who said that statement, the one who turned to God in prayer in the dream, was the malach, was the angel himself, because it says again, God answered et hamalach hadover bi, that malach who was talking to me. So now we're no longer talking about the guy riding on the horse, or the horses themselves, or other riders that might have been on the horses. We're talking about a dialogue between God, the angel who is interpreting the vision, and Zechariah Hamnavi himself, who was watching this dialogue and hearing this dialogue. So God answers that malach, the malach who talked to me, Dvarim tovim, he answered him wonderful words, good words, Dvarim nichumim, words of comfort. And he told me, Vayomer Eli, and he told to me, after God spoke to the angel words of comfort, the angel then relayed God's message to me. And he told me, Kira Lemar, I want you to call out as follows to all of the Jewish people. I want you to tell them, Ko Amar Adonai Tzavos, this is the message of God, the Lord of hosts, Ki Nesi Yerushalayim. I have had kinah for Yerushalayim. I have had anger for Jerusalem. U'tzion kin agedolah. There's several ways this can be interpreted, and the interpreters variously interpret this. Some say, I have jealous for Jerusalem. In other words, I will take revenge for Jerusalem. Or it could also mean, I have taken revenge for Jerusalem by punishing Jerusalem in the past. And for Zion, it was a tremendous kinah. I'm going to go with the second one, that this is a bad thing, not a good thing, because of the context. I'm sorry. I'm going to go, I apologize. There's various ways to read this. I'm going to go with the commentaries that say that Kinesi Yerushalayim, I will take revenge for Jerusalem. I will take revenge for Zion, a great revenge. The Ketzef Gadol, verse 15, and a tremendous anger on Nikotseif, I am angry al hagoyim hasha'ananim, on those nations that are at peace. You just talked about those nations that are all at peace. The Persian Empire, which is Sha'anan, which is all at peace. Not for long, God says, I am going to take out the anger. Asher ani kotzafti ma'at, because yes, it's true. I was angry at the Jewish people. I did want them to be punished. But they took it so much farther than I asked them to. For those of you that have been studying Isaiah and Jeremiah with me, on many occasions we saw how Isaiah said, God may have made Assyria, that was the example then, it was earlier in history when Assyria was the powerful empire. But God made Assyria his hand, gave them the permission to punish, but they went and took it way past what they were supposed to. Yes, God allows Persia to be in charge, but the suffering and the oppression that they put upon the people is way more than what is supposed to happen. Way more. So they deserve my anger and my wrath. Lachain, therefore, says God, Ko Amar Adonai. So says God, Shavti Yerushalayim barachamim. I have returned to Jerusalem in mercy. Beisi yiboneh ba, my house shall be built there. The language is perfectly chosen by the prophet. Beisi, my house, yiboneh, shall be built. Not by me, but shall be built by you, the people. Ba, in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. Because like we studied in Chagai, and like we saw so far in Zechariah, God is not making this massive miracle and bringing down this great building from heaven and all kinds of fireworks and starbursts and who knows what. But rather God's saying, Yibaneh shall be built by the people. It's a humble house, but it's my house and you're building it. No, Adonai Tzvos, this is what God says. And V'kavi notal Yerushalayim, and architecture, the measuring lines, measuring out for more buildings and more houses and more places and more markets and more streets. All of that is going to be stretched over the entire Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is going to be rebuilt, God says. That's what we're doing now. Od Kira Lemar. And then the angel told me, and I also want you to go call out to the people as follows. Ko Amar Adonai Tzavos. So says the Lord God, the God of hosts. Od Tifutzena Araimi Tov. Furthermore, my towns shall spread out from so much good and so much bounty. My cities, the cities of Judea, the cities of Israel, are going to spread out and explode with goodness. Tifutzena, they are going to spread out from themselves with goodness that is going to pour over the world. V'nicham Adonai od Zion, and God will further have more mercy on Zion. Uvacharod b'Yerushalayim. He will yet choose Jerusalem as his capital city. God will yet choose it. In other words, yes, he chose it before in the time of the first temple, and he will choose it again, and he will make it his place in the second temple period as well. So don't be afraid of the Persian Empire and their KGB, their horses and their spy system, and the thumb of oppression that is upon you, because I will yet choose, I will yet allow Jerusalem to be rebuilt. Thank you so much for studying Zechariah chapter 1. Looking forward to studying Zechariah chapter 2, and of course the rest of this beautiful book together.